The moment God spoke to me and changed everything. Have you ever had a moment so clear, so powerful, so unexplainable that you knew, without question, that God was speaking directly to you? Maybe it wasn't a loud voice. Maybe it wasn't a miracle written across the sky. Maybe it was a whisper, quiet, gentle, unmistakable. Today, I want to tell you about that moment. A moment that didn't just touch my heart. It changed the direction of my entire life. Scene 1, the breaking point. There was a season of my life when everything felt like it was collapsing at once. Have you ever been there? You wake up tired. You go to sleep tired. You pray, but the prayers feel heavy. You smile, but the smile feels fake. I was overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, spiritually dry, and silently drowning in questions I couldn't say out loud. God, where are you? Why is this happening? Do you even hear me anymore? I kept pushing forward, pretending I was strong. But the truth is, I had come to the end of myself. One night, when the weight became too much, I walked outside just to breathe. The air was cold. The sky was silent. And for the first time in a long time, I said nothing to God. Not a prayer. Not a word. Just quiet. I didn't expect an answer. I didn't expect a sign. I didn't expect anything. But that's when it happened. Scene 2, the whisper. As I stood there, something stirred inside me. A thought, gentle, soft, yet sharper than anything I had felt before, rose like light breaking through clouds. I am here. I can't fully explain it. It wasn't sound. It wasn't my imagination. It was presence. A deep peace filling a space in my heart I didn't even know was empty. Then came the second whisper. I never left you. Those words hit harder than thunder. Because in that moment, I realized something painful and beautiful at the same time. God had been with me in every moment of confusion, every tear on my pillow, every long night when I felt forgotten. It wasn't him who had been silent. It was me who had been too loud in my fear to hear his voice. And then, one more whisper. You are not alone. I felt a warmth, not physical, but spiritual, wrap around my exhaustion. The kind of warmth that reaches deeper than skin. The kind that touches the soul. Scene 3. The scripture that appeared. As I stood there, something unexpected came to mind. A Bible verse I hadn't thought about in years. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46, verse 10. Those words repeated in my heart like a heartbeat. Be still, be still, be still. Not rush, not fear, not control everything. Just be still. And in the stillness, I heard God more clearly than ever before. It was a moment when Scripture wasn't just ink on a page. It was God's voice speaking directly into the situation I couldn't navigate alone. Scene 4. The shift inside me. Nothing around me changed instantly. My problems didn't disappear. My challenges didn't evaporate. But I changed. I felt a strength rising, quiet but powerful. A peace that didn't make sense. A hope that felt alive. It was like God reached into my storm and said, let me carry what you can't. For the first time in months, I breathed deeply. I stood straighter. I felt energy returning. Because when God speaks, even a whisper, the heart hears what it has been longing for. Scene 5, the realization. I realized something profound that night. God doesn't always speak through miracles. Sometimes he speaks through moments. Moments of stillness. Moments of surrender. Moments when we finally stop running and start listening. He speaks through Scripture. He speaks through peace. He speaks through conviction. He speaks through timing. And sometimes, he speaks through silence that suddenly becomes full of meaning. The moment I felt God speaking to me wasn't loud, dramatic, or supernatural in the way movies show it. It was simple, quiet, gentle, but it was real. And real moments with God don't fade. Scene 6, the transformation. That one moment became a turning point in my life. I started praying differently, less talking, more listening. I started trusting differently, less fear, more surrender. I started walking differently, less pressure, more peace. And whenever life gets heavy again, and it does, I go back to that moment, to that whisper, I am here, to that promise, I never left you, to that truth, you are not alone. Final scene, the invitation. Maybe you're watching this because you need that moment too. Maybe your heart is tired. Maybe your prayers feel empty. Maybe you're wondering if God still speaks. Let me tell you with everything in me, He does. And He might be speaking to you right now. Through this video, through this story, through that quiet stirring in your heart as you listen. Sometimes the voice of God is not heard with your ears, but with your soul. So take a breath, slow down, be still, and you might hear the same whisper that changed my life. I am here. I never left you. You are not alone. One moment with God can change everything.